You have no idea what they're going through. You might realize this now or later on, but the truth is that inside they're in a silent battle. Every glance they throw, every word that almost slips out, reflects something they're holding back with almost invisible strength. Can you feel it? The sensation that they're wanting to say something, but something greater, something stronger, is holding them back. They've fallen in love, in a way that hurts deeply. Each day they try to look around and keep moving forward, as if nothing is happening. But what do you do when your heart, with all its might, pulls you toward a path you can't take? How can they give in to something that wouldn't be right? Have you noticed the weight of this dilemma? The suffering that comes from loving while also respecting what they committed to. It's not just a matter of loyalty, it's also about ethics, about staying true to what they believe is right. Maybe you can understand how they feel. Perhaps at some point you've experienced something similar. But you know they feel this with a unique intensity because they believe in your words. They believe in what they say, in the commitment they made. What hurts them the most isn't just the burning feeling inside. It's the internal struggle, the doubt, the question of whether they're doing right or wrong. They constantly ask themselves, am I being fair? Am I being loyal to myself, to those who are also involved? Every thought about you, every repressed desire, mingles with the weight of their current reality. Yet still, they can't allow themselves to act on this feeling. It's as if his heart is adrift, struggling against a sea of responsibilities, while the tide of love seems to grow stronger. Have you ever felt that conflict? That sensation of being pulled towards something that deep down, you know may not be the best for you, yet your whole being cries out for it. Imagine that the desire to touch, to draw closer, to be more, is a constant storm within him. But the storm isn't just external, it's internal, and he must hold firm in his choice even if it consumes him from the inside. Because, above all, he respects. He respects the commitments he has made. He doesn't see himself as someone who casts others aside. He believes that above all else, ethics must prevail. What he feels for you is strong, but what he feels for those he has committed to is something equally powerful. It's not simple. He isn't just dealing with his feelings, he's navigating something more complex. The desire to be whole, to not hurt those who have trusted him. And can you perceive his struggle? Can you see the strength he has to hold on and not give in to the temptation of seeking something easier, of taking the path of escape? If he is close to you but can't give more of himself, how do you feel? How? He feels as if he's always on the brink of something, yet never able to cross that line. And that barrier isn't just a matter of choice. No, it's built on his own convictions, on his own way of viewing the world. Perhaps this is something he has learned over time. Maybe he was impulsive before, but life taught him to act with more caution, with more responsibility. Can you understand this weight? When he looks at you, there is a genuine desire, but there is also sadness, because he knows he cannot be completely who he is at this moment. He knows that, no matter how strongly his heart beats, he cannot act on impulse. It's not that he doesn't want to. It's that he understands that ethics must be stronger than passion. What he feels is something so immense, yet the awareness that this passion cannot be lived in the way he desires brings an almost unbearable pain. He is in a constant dilemma, and he doesn't know how much longer he will be able to maintain this balance. What disturbs him the most, aside from his own desire, is the fear that if he gives in, he will betray something deeper. Perhaps it isn't just a matter of a relationship, but a matter of being true to his own soul, to what he believes is genuine. Thus, the pain is not only that of unrequited passion, it is the pain of needing to make choices that often feel incomplete. He asks himself, if I act according to how I feel now, will I be destroying something more important in the future? If you've ever been in a moment where you had to respect something greater than your own desire, you know how devastating that can be. The feeling that, no matter how deep the love is, it cannot be lived in the way we wish, is a silent pain, often stronger than any other kind of suffering, and he carries this pain with him every day. And in his solitude, there is only one foundation to hold his steps, the promise that in the end he will act in accordance with what he believes to be the right thing to do. But what he doesn't know is how long he can maintain this structure. He looks at you and for a brief moment feels as if anything is possible. The desire to touch you, to be with you, to confess everything he feels is almost a necessity, but ethics, loyalty, and responsibility are stronger than any impulse. He feels this in his bones, and the sensation is one of being torn, of being part of two different worlds that cannot coexist. Do you sense this? He knows that deep down the dilemma is not just about you. It's about himself, about who he is and who he chooses to be. He wants to be someone of integrity, someone who doesn't get lost in the traps of what seems like the easiest path. Yet, at the same time, he feels that he is losing himself somewhere else, in his heart which beats strongly but cannot surrender. Can you imagine how difficult it is for him to be in this place? It's not an easy choice, it's not a simple one. He needs to realize at some point that his path cannot be determined solely by what he feels, but by what he believes is right. And that moment of recognition may be approaching. Or perhaps it has already arrived, he doesn't know yet. And maybe, just maybe, you feel that this dilemma isn't just his, it's ours. It belongs to everyone who, for a moment, must choose between what the heart desires and what commitment demands. Because in the end, the real question is, how far are we willing to go to honor our own choices, and how far are we willing to fight against what calls to us so intensely? He still feels trapped in this space, caught between what is and what could be. There's a part of him that tries to rationalize everything, to justify his choices, but that part isn't enough to erase what he feels for you. In every moment, he tries to convince himself that he's doing what's right, that he can't give in to a passion that could lead to irreparable consequences. The moral dilemma becomes a daily struggle, a constant war between what his heart desires and what his conscience demands of him. Have you noticed that he's splitting apart, perhaps silently, without anyone around him knowing the pain he carries? He wonders if he could be stronger, more resolute, if he could simply move forward without getting lost in the chains of contradictory feelings. But the truth is, he's just being human with all its complexities. He looks at you, tries to avert his gaze to avoid losing himself, but with every second he feels your presence, with every second your eyes meet, the struggle starts anew. It's not just about physical desire, it's about the desire to be whole, to be complete. He doesn't want to be someone who is divided. He wants to be someone who acts with integrity, who makes the right choices, but you make everything seem harder. And he knows that. He knows it's not your fault. You're just being who you are, someone who awakens in him something he can't control. What he might not realize yet is that by trying to maintain the balance between right and wrong, he might be losing himself inside. Each time he pulls away, each time he suppresses himself, he loses a little bit of who he is. He wonders if, in the end, this pain will turn into something more, an eternal wound, or a profound lesson. But he knows that somehow he will have to decide. And the decision isn't simple. None of the options bring the peace he seeks. But something tells him that if he continues down this path, if he keeps walking the thin line between feelings and commitments, he will lose himself. He will lose sight of who he truly is. And you, as much as you want him to come closer to you, may be the key for him to see himself in all his complexities. If he looks within, he may realize that the choice isn't just between you and another commitment. The choice is between staying true to a morality he imposed on himself, or allowing himself to live what his heart is yearning for. It's not a simple dilemma, and worse, he knows that at some point his struggle will be more about him than about anyone else. What he fears deep down is not being able to reconcile these two worlds, the world of passion and the world of loyalty. The pain he feels isn't just the pain of unrequited love. It's the pain of the choice he can't make, the freedom he can't embrace, the path he can't follow. It's the weight of knowing that perhaps the most genuine love he has ever felt cannot be lived, cannot be shared. And what about you? Have you ever felt that? That deep love that cannot be lived, cannot be expressed, cannot be touched? That love which, in essence, might be purer precisely because it cannot be touched. He feels that if he surrenders to you, he would be putting everything at risk. His morality, his integrity, everything he has built up to now. What he doesn't see is that deep down, true integrity isn't just about staying true to something outside of himself, but is about being true to what he really feels and what he truly needs. True loyalty is to oneself. He doesn't realize this yet, but time and life will teach him. He knows that eventually he will have to decide. He will have to make a choice that will make him look in the mirror and respect himself. He has already started to realize that perhaps what holds him back most from pursuing what he feels is the fear of change, the fear of losing the stability he values so much, the fear of taking a risk on something new, of breaking the status quo of his life and stepping into the unknown. And you? Have you ever faced that fear? The kind of fear that prevents us from taking the next step, from changing, from leaving the place where we feel comfortable, even if that comfort zone is also a prison. This is the paradox he lives. He fears what could be the best thing in his life because it involves a break from everything he knows. His life, his choices, his emotional security, everything is tied to a precarious balance. If he chooses to follow the path of love, everything could fall apart. If he doesn't, he'll live with the pain of having done nothing, content with the quiet of what is, but always wondering what might have happened if he had made a different choice. Now, do you see the magnitude of his struggle? The weight of that responsibility? Every glance he shares with you brings him one step closer to a decision he doesn't want to make, but knows he will have to confront. Because deep down, the most significant choice he has to make is not about you or about committing to someone else. The greatest choice is about who he chooses to be for himself. Ethics, loyalty, love, passion, desire, all of this is intertwining and becoming part of him. There is no easy path, but eventually he will realize that the biggest obstacle isn't you or the people around him, but himself. He needs to understand that the true dilemma lies in his own authenticity, in allowing himself to be who he really is, without fear of making mistakes, without fear of change. He is at a crucial moment in his life, and the next step depends on how he decides to handle it. He will need to realize sooner or later that he can't live to please others or meet expectations. He will need to understand that to be happy, he must be true to his essence, to what he feels, to who he is. And this, my friend, won't be an easy choice. Do you feel that his struggle is yours as well? Maybe, deep down, he knows this. Perhaps he has already begun to realize that by moving forward without allowing himself to live what he feels, he is, in fact, denying himself. He is denying himself the right to be who he truly is, to make space for his truth, and for the love that beats within his chest. But this realization doesn't come without pain. Sometimes, the pain of understanding that one is stuck in a version of oneself that is incomplete is the hardest of all. But perhaps even amidst this internal chaos, something in his soul is crying out for freedom. It's not a selfish freedom, but a freedom to be honest with himself, to recognize the deepest part of his being. Little by little, he is starting to understand that it's not just about loving or not loving you. It's about being able to acknowledge the truth that exists in his heart, without fear of breaking old patterns and risking the new. He must have sensed more than once that there is something inside him that can no longer be contained. And what if that something is precisely the love he has for you? It's a harsh and simple truth. He needs to give himself permission. If he doesn't give himself that chance, he will just be existing, not living. And there's nothing more painful than feeling that your life has passed before your eyes without having allowed yourself to touch it. What he doesn't understand is that by imprisoning himself in the ethics he has constructed, he is, in fact, going against his own essence. True integrity, true loyalty, comes from an action that is faithful to what he feels, to what he knows is true within himself. No matter how much he tries to rationalize the situation, the truth will always be there, knocking at his door, waiting to be lived. But fear is a tyrant. He is afraid of losing everything, afraid of diving into something he doesn't know will be reciprocated or accepted. He is afraid of failing, and perhaps the hardest thing to accept, the fear of making mistakes, of getting lost in what could be, of risking it all and not seeing his efforts rewarded, because contrary to what he tries to believe, he still sees himself as someone who cannot be vulnerable. He still thinks he needs to be in control, that he must keep everything intact. He doesn't yet know that true strength lies not in control, but in surrender. If he knew this, if he could realize that the moment he allows himself to be who he is, he will become infinitely stronger, he might make a different decision, because that's what you do to him. You make him question his own rigidity, his own discipline, his own fear, and that is the power you have over him. Not the power to conquer him, but the power to make him question, reflect, and rethink everything he thought he knew about himself. Have you ever been through this? That moment when everything you thought you knew about your life starts to unravel before your eyes. That moment when you begin to realize that by holding on to what you already have so tightly, you may be preventing what is truly good from entering your life. He doesn't realize it yet, but what he is experiencing right now is a moment of transition. He is at a breaking point, about to discover that no matter how hard he fights it, the love he feels for you isn't going away. He will learn, no matter how difficult it is, that true ethics come from actions rooted in love, not from suppressing his deepest feelings. And maybe, by the time he realizes this, he will have already lost the chance to be who he really is with you. But perhaps, just perhaps, he still has time. Time to understand that what he fears most is not change, but remaining in a place where he doesn't feel whole. This conversation is not over yet. If you have found yourself at any point in this story, if something inside you stirred, then the next step is for those who dare to look beyond what is visible. It's not about what he decides now, it's about what you choose for your own journey. And I will be here waiting for you to take the next step. Don't let this reflection pass by unnoticed. Come with me to the next video. I'll see you there.